Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Flatirons Syndicate Motorsports Podcast. This show is brought to you by Flatirons Tuning, your source for any aftermarket or OEM Subaru parts. Be sure to check out our store at flatironstuning.com and stay tuned with Flatirons Tuning. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is episode number 75. I think it's 75 of the Flatirons Syndicate Motorsports Podcast. We've got Dussex joining us, and we've got another special guest sitting in. We have got Devin from Professional Awesome Racing joining us. Hello. And Devin, we actually talked a few times when we were out at Super Lap Battle, and have been trying to catch you ever since we got back, and it's just been a struggle. But we finally found a time, and we finally got you on. So that was kind of like the initial inspiration to reach out, just kind of talk through how Super Lap Battle went for you. So maybe is that a good place to start as any?
I mean, sure, why not? Super Lap fucking sucked.
Yep. So, yep. We can kind of go blow by blow there for
I mean yours sucked worse than mine for sure.
Well, I don't know. They were both not good.
Good. Fair but fair.
And I mean, so let's just, because people I think are pretty familiar with our struggles with the overheating. What happened with you? What was going on with you that weekend?
Let's see. So I've told the story so many times, so right now I'm trying not to.
I know, right?
I'm trying to hide some shit. So, anywho,
okay.
Let's go. Let's start off the day with let's start with Friday, like the day before Super Lap. Let's go with Thursday. So Thursday, 2 days before Super Lap. Get off work, normal shit. My car's already in Texas at a shop that I was working with. So I'm thinking, I get the luxury of, kind of like the cool guy flying in and
right.
Get the track, but I pretend like I got money. Hell yeah, let's go. But
right.
But Thursday happened. I prepped my truck for the trip, and let's say about 50 feet from my driveway, my battery light comes on. Alternator takes a shit. Right.
Right.
Okay, whatever. So I decided I got to change it since I already paid for it, Super Lap Battle, so I have to go. So then 2 hours later, that's done, but unfortunately it leads us into a snowstorm here in Chicago.
Right.
So
which in Chicago, like that's not a small deal.
Big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. Well, see, Chicago doesn't do a lot of things well, but one thing they do well is they get snow off the road. So all the main highways are clear in the Chicagoland area. But once you get to rural buttfuck Illinois, it's all shit. Right. Yeah. So I get about around Bloomington, Illinois, which is about 2 hours from my house, 2.5 hours. And we come to a standstill. And there's I guess about an hour or so before we got there's 150 car pile up, and there's just cars scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And they're slowly picking things up. But to make a long story short, I was stuck on this expressway for 6 hours. And I moved maybe 2 miles.
And all you wanted to do was pick up your race car that was ready to go and just leisurely drive to the track. Where is that? It's in southern Dallas. So track's only 3 hours away in Austin. But now I'm 8 hours, right? Yeah. And I'm running out of sleep, and I'm annoyed, even worse. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So we get the trip down. Friday comes. I get to the shop. I think at this time I was 10 hours behind schedule. Get to the shop, and the car is not ready. And at this time, they were running into an issue where it wasn't even starting. Mm-hmm. And so now there was a whole debacle from I got there 9 o'clock and didn't leave till 2 a.m.
Right.
So you get to the track, tired, because obviously I've been driving for 2 goddamn days.
Yeah.
And trying to get on track. It was just a hassle, put it that way. I was behind schedule and exhausted, and it caused me to miss a couple of steps when I got there. So I think I did make practice in the morning with the Corvette. What the fuck happened? I can't think of what but something bad happened in the morning at that time. I think I might have. No, it's the second session.
Was that the fueling issue where the car was
so
sputtering?
So first session, I can't think of anything bad that happened. Besides, I was just completely lost at
Right.
Coda. Like I was just like, where the fuck?
Was that
where
your
do I
first
stop?
time?
Yeah.
First time
Other
at the
than
track?
like
Yeah.
Forza or something like. So first time.
Yeah.
at Coda.
There's a lot of concrete out there and just paint going every which direction.
Yeah, you know, I have a saying about pro tracks, man. Pro tracks, there's a lot of walls to hit. I mean, you only get walls. You don't get grass, you get walls.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I can't think. The practice went okay, I think.
Sure.
Confidence was building in practice. Come qualifying, I guess I went out on a low tire.
Right.
I guess my buddy was trying to tell me about it, but like once I get in the pit lane, I kind of have this routine of like getting focused, and I don't really like people talking. You can't reach me unless you got a flag in your hand or like you're like next to me yelling, right?
Right.
But my buddy said he was trying to scream at me that my tire was slow. I didn't hear him. But by lap 2, I debeated the tire, and then I was in the S's, and I proceeded to beach myself because I didn't want to kill qualifying for everybody else because I forgot
Right.
something, you know.
Right.
So I beached myself by the exit. Didn't know what happened. They're like, "Oh, yeah, you just got a flat tire." Okay, whatever. Borrowed some tires. Then this is race 1 coming up. And somehow I didn't qualify last. So that was, you know, confidence was getting back, you know, back to being almost normal.
Yep.
And this is, just so people know, this is GLTC in a C5 vet, right?
Correct. GLTC C5
Yeah.
that I have no seat time in.
Right. This is your inaugural event too with this
Yeah.
car. Yeah.
This is an event that it's been running since then. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Since Friday.
Right, exactly. So I bought it, got it caged, then tried to put it back together. Didn't start. And then I worked with the shop to try to make it competitive.
Right.
Race 1, Jesus, man. I wish you would have asked me this when I was fresh on my mind. Like
I know.
I don't really recall what happened race 1. I know we're having race 2, but that was a standing start. And that's when I had the fueling issue that you were talking about. Well, it was worse than that, right? Like I arrived at this race 2, I think was the next day.
Mhm.
So I packed everything up. Everything was normal. I inspected everything, put the air in my fucking tire, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna have, it's gonna be a good productive day. I can make up some spots or just learn Coda in the car.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's not what happened. I got there in the morning, go to start the car. I'm gonna go put some gas in. Go to start the car, didn't fucking start. Like it didn't, not like it didn't crank, like it didn't do anything. Like started wasn't getting power type of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
felt
So,
like the battery was dead or something.
Right. Well, even then, like a battery did, it started still gonna click. It's still gonna click the relay. It didn't do shit.
Hmm.
So I was like, I don't understand. So I end up like pushing it uphill by myself and then jumping in and bump start. Oh, it starts. Yay. And by this time, I think they've already done their outlap at for the standing start.
Like the formation.
Yeah. And they pre-show was like, if you miss your standing start, you're shit out of luck.
Mhm.
So I made it to grid with probably like 30 seconds before they had closed the game.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do this. So then I did get to no, actually not, correction. They didn't do their outlap there, but everybody was lined up. Right. So I get to the gate, 30 seconds spare to close the gate. Boom, we go do the outlap. We're supposed to do our practice start, and nobody knew what was happening. So we kind of did that. I bogged a little bit. I was like, okay, it needs 3,000 RPM, whatever. We'll try this. I get around start, and the lights going off. You're like, yeah, raw F1 start. I'm a fucking race car driver, right? Then light goes green. I get a good start, feeling good, and then I get to the top of turn 1, and it shuts off.
Right.
Like,
Shit.
what in the fuck? Right? No stuttering. It just shuts off. Okay. So my race is over. I parked it right there at the top of turn 1. And they just pulled me out. And if you guys didn't know, turn 1 is really uphill. So I kind of coasted down at like 30 miles an hour with no power.
Yeah.
Get to the bottom of the hill, talk to the guys. They're like, we don't know what's wrong. If it's a half a tank of gas, then sometimes, it has fuel slosh problems because it's got a C5 tank. It's like a 350Z. It's got 2 halves. And one fuel pump kind of pumps it over to the other one, and then it sucks up.
Right.
So I'm like, cool, whatever. And then you go to start it, and it starts right up with the switch. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's weird.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, at least I know the problem. So I go get something to eat.
Right.
Like, oh, it's solved. And then I think I go to start the car again 20 minutes before the next race, and nothing's happening again. Okay, let's just try bump starting and go put some gas in.
Yeah.
It doesn't bump start. So, the race is about to start. I can hear him on the out lap. I'm like, whatever, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And then we put gas in it, and then it starts. So I'm like, what the fuck? I got completely out of gas. Like, it was full before race one. You're telling me I used fucking 15 gallons in one race? Whatever. Calm down, Devin. It's fine.
Right.
So I put gas in it before race 3. And I think I go out in the back. I think somebody had crashed. So I was like running around in the caution lap like I'm a real race car driver. Felt
Right. Right.
Catch them to the pack, and then I stayed back there. Race 3 was race 3.
Yeah.
Then race 4 was uneventful. I was in the back. I got passed by the fast guys in like 2 turns, and then I stayed in the back.
And you made a couple places, but you were finally able to get one race in without any kind of
problem.
Outside shenanigans or anything.
Correct. And what I learned was my car wasn't at the level I expected it to be when I got there.
Sure.
Right? So I had a car that was ready for a shakedown at best. Right. So,
and that's what I wanted to talk, because that's kind of what we ended up running into as well. We fell into this very common race car trap where you drive the race car and it works, and then you turn the race car off after it worked, and then it sits for like 3 months, and you're like, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
3 months ago it was fine. We parked it. We haven't touched it since. We're going to turn this key, and it's going to be just fine. And it wasn't. Like that's like the race car, like they're
cycle.
Yeah, they want you to be using them all the time. And if you just let them sit, they do not like that. All sorts of weird problems and things can crop up. And
you guys got to do like me. You got to just send it, blow the engine up just to a million pieces at the end of the season, and then you have to go through it and put it.
Yeah, you got no choice now.
Right. Yeah. And that was like, so. I mean, what do you think going forward? Like, let's say you have another car again, like a new car.
We all know I'm having a car.
well, and you've got a project that you're working on with the S2000 that I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so that let's say you get that to the point where it's running. I mean, from what you learned from that experience going to COTA, what is going to be your approach now, where you've got this completely car that you've had is completely different, it's completely gone through and changed. What is your process going to be to kind of get that up to speed before you take it to eventing it?
So usually I don't have the new race car problems, right? I mean, like usually when my car shuts off, I know the problems, and if I choose to fix it or not, that's a whole different situation. I guess the vet thing was different, where I was just so hands off with something that I expected, hey, you have a competitive race car. Didn't get that for whatever reason. I think they just ran out of time. They had, they had other obligations. So for like moving forward, like even if I do deal with another shop, my thing is like I have to go through my whole process first beforehand, right? Like even if it costs me like going down, like say if I'm going to VRR and it's at like a shop in Virginia, even that takes me going down a week beforehand and working on it there, or going to get it, bringing it back home, working on it at my house, and then going to VR or something like that. Like even though it's more time consuming, it's just better for my peace of mind, and I know what to expect, and I put my hands on it,
Yeah.
Like for reference for the S2000, like, oh, that's a tough one, right? Like I ran into a cooling problem that I was chasing before I had this trans issue, right? And it's one of those things like, well, I can test so much at home, but like the cooling issue doesn't arise until it's heated and it's been
track.
right. When a turbo is over 200, 200 Fahrenheit. So I mean that's the thing. I mean I just like now I just have a more extensive checklist of things to go through, where it could be like everybody says nut and bolt cars, but I like to test every system every time now.
Sure.
Test the cooling system, test oiling system, like I've got a lot of specialty tools now in my garage, and it's all just to make sure shit works.
Right. Man, like you cannot test enough. I mean, as frustrating as our problems were when we were at Super Lab, if I wouldn't have had the pressure testing tool to pressure test caps in the cooling system, trying to diagnose that, I mean, it would have been just basically like hope would have been my best tool. Like I hope it's going to work this time.
The guessing game. You could play like the who's who. Do you have too much temperature? Nope.
Right.
Do you have?
Yeah. Might as well get one of those big like carnival wheels where you like spin the wheel to like win a prize. Like spin it like it's probably spark plug wires. We don't even have them. I don't know. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we need to add spark plug wires.
I mean, the guess game gets real expensive real quick.
Yeah. Especially if you're throwing parts at the problem. That's for darn sure. Yeah.
And my thing is like, these events aren't cheap, right? Like Coda for me was a $2,700 ordeal, with fuel to get there, and that's with me having quite a bit of partnership help.
Right. And that's just like that's to drive there and to drive back and the entry fee. Like that's not consumables, fuel, tires, like anything else that might break. That's
not even dealing with the Corvette outside of the entry fee and transponder costs,
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, it's far cheaper for me to, I'll be slightly bummed if I break it at the house from testing something, or I got a drag strip down the street 20 miles from me, right? I'd rather go break it there than to fucking drag it states over to be like, oh, well, damn,
Yep.
What's the closest track to you, Devin? Like, is Gingerman your closest track, or
it used to be, but since I moved up, I'm in northern Chicagoland area, so I'm on the border of Wisconsin and Illinois. So the closest track for me would be Black Hawk. That's 50 minutes away now. Nice. I think Road America is now closer than Gingerman is.
Hell yeah. Probably more expensive to go too.
Yeah, I have no excitement to go to Road America. Like for me, like when I think of excitement on the car, like I think of bringing the S2000 somewhere and going Road America, then I get to see how fast it actually goes. I don't know if I want to witness that. I went to Road Atlanta and it got to 100, I think 153 or something. And I was like, oh, there's so much shit shaking that I've never heard before.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I remember the first big track I went out of the state. I was doing like 135 in my WRX, and like the speedometers just in a spot I'd never seen. Like, caught me off guard, like, oh!
I think it's buried.
Yep.
This is crazy shit.
Yeah, man. But it's one of those things where like you kind of have to. I mean, if you're going to be running a car at a track where you're going to have that kind of top speed, the only way to know that it's going to like hold together or like your tires are balanced sufficiently or whatever is to kind of get it up to that speed. That's in part of the challenge. Like for us, it's like, well, you've got to get the car to the track and get it really hot and like our excuse, well, or reason, I guess it's a reason. It was freezing. Like it was below zero the week before we went out to Super Lap. So like our plan to go out to test it, just that didn't make any sense. It's like it's not going to get hot. The tires aren't going to get sticky. And I think there was still snow on the track, and you can't really learn anything in that environment. But it's just one of those challenges of like, how do you? There were so many people scrambling that weekend, and I think my guess is because it was in February. Like that event is like the beginning of the year. There's just such little time, unless you're in a warm climate where you don't have snow and cold, that you could really even do testing. But I think it just caught so many of us out. But that was super challenging.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's one of those things that's unfortunate. Like I'm happy for GTA for continuously to pursue the Super Lap thing, which I think it's a great idea, and I continue to support. Like even February was the biggest turnout they've had, like spectator wise, drift cars, show cars, so it's great that way.
Even,
but yes, it's just after off season. Like even our southern states have off season still. It's still like cars like Ferris car, right?
Yeah,
they still rebuilt it, and it's coming right out first event out.
Yeah,
to see what happens, type of thing.
Yeah,
I think the only thing you can really do is like work with people. Like certain things, like Coda's a fast track too, right? So like Ferris works with Ferris Engineering, which they're really good at engineering shit. So you can have an aero package that won't die on you.
Right.
With me working with Mike Lewin and Eric Streeter, like Mike being a failure analysis type of engineer at his job, right? He could tell me like, hey, this needs to be just as strong. Don't make it any stronger because they'll be too heavy, but it needs to be just as strong to survive this type of thing, right?
Right.
And which is a great help. Like I was in school for engineering, failed out because I couldn't afford it, and just having his insight behind me, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I was on the right track. Let me change a few things here, and this will work out. But yeah, like you said, like being coming straight from winter, it's kind of hard to test in those situations. But I don't know. Maybe this just means we should stop blowing our cars up every fucking year, and it'll.
Hey, I'm okay with that. I would skip that. Yeah, I don't have to twist my arm too hard just to not blow up the car.
Yeah, right.
We were making that joke, I think, earlier about how like you could look at Button Willow finals as like the pre-warm-up for Super Lap and Coda because
which is November.
Yeah, it's like as late as it can go, and then if you have something that you really, really have to figure out, it gives you like those 3 months to do it.
Yep.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
instead of thinking of finals as finals, thinking it was a pre-course to Super Lap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the one that's really big, right? Like you want to make sure you have like a good showing at Super Lap and Texas.
Yeah, there's a lot more just because of the facility and stuff. There's a lot more at stake at that event. Yeah, especially if something goes wrong. Like that's a track you do not want to drop any oil. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't want to drop any oil. I don't hit any walls. I mean, it's just like the gator that's fucking at Coda are fucking violent. Like I hit him like 3 times. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna die. Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure they've contributed to the egg shape of my wheels too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, it's one of those things where is kind of like a privateer. It was a real eye-opening event. Like because for us that was the first time where we really traveled that far to an event, short of a rally. But with the rally, the car isn't like as high stressed as it is. It usually like you're driving at speed on dirt roads, and so you're like when it goes bad, you're hitting things, and like it's just. I mean, you're just trying to like use duct tape and hammers to get the car back together again to try and keep on going.
This is rally, you say?
Rally, yeah.
It sounds like my type of gig right there.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's you hit dips and ditches and rocks and trees. Like it is hard on the chassis. Let's just say that. Usually when something goes bad, it's you bend something, you got to cut something off, keep something from digging into the wheel and tire, like get suspension back on, and that's usually about the gist of it. Usually.
So
doesn't sound like that big of a deal at all.
Okay. Well, hey, you want to go on an experience rally, let us know. We'll let you know when we're going up to the next one. You can come and crew and see what it's all about. It's
I
fun.
will take you up on that offer. I think TRF, my cage builders, they're always trying to get me to come out too. So
it's rally is one of those things where like crewing. I've realized that being on a crew is not to my strong suit because I don't work well under a time crunch. But like when you've got like overnight and stuff like that, like at Super Lap, we had time. Like there was still some time, there was still some pressure, but in rally, you can only work on the car during the service period. It's like you've got a 20 or 30-minute service period, and that's it. It's like if the car comes in and you got 3 wheels on the car, you have 30 minutes to figure out a solution and get your car out. Otherwise, you can't run anymore. Or you have to basically, DNF for the first day, and then hopefully you can restart the second day if it's a 2-day rally, that sort of thing. But it's like there can be some real like crunch time in those pits just to try and get the car cobbled back together, which hopefully doesn't happen too often. But that's a challenging environment and one that I do not excel in. I've discovered.
That's interesting because like myself and most of the people in Pro All, we do not do well with time, right? Like if we have too much time, nothing gets done, right? I've had all this time to work on the S. I'm just like, well, fuck that. I can do other things, right? But when I have like a deadline, I'm like, hey, you got 2 days. It's like, oh, well, I guess I should start getting shit done.
Right.
I don't know. I can't want to do this pit thing. You let me know for sure. I think I want to try it.
Okay.
If it's not too far.
I'll
have
let you
one
know.
that's in Michigan, don't they? Like the Lips something or another.
There's two in Michigan. There's Lake Superior, LSPR, and then there's Snowdrift. So Snowdrift, I think that's the first rally of the season, which is, I'm going to get this wrong and I'm going to feel bad, but I think it's February. And then LSPR is later in the year. They come back.
Oh,
then,
okay. We're talking like next season for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's
LSPR.
yeah, Michigan would probably be the closest to you, and there's two of them.
Well, if it's in the Upper Peninsula, then it's going to be far regardless. But
yeah, well,
I mean, that's fine.
Closer than
right.
like Maine or New England or Washington or Oregon, which are
Stern.
Like they're
Yeah, touche.
yeah, it's basically like East Coast, West Coast, a couple in the middle. There's a lot of travel in rally. There's a lot of travel. Yeah, but well, I'll let you know. But yeah,
they just had the Olympus rally right in Washington.
Yep. Yeah, that was last weekend.
Oh, really? Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's the one where the rumor is that they're going to try and get the WRC back into the States, and they might come there next year.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. Yeah, but it's a challenging environment, and like I guess some of the rally experience helps for going to the road course, but there's just there was some of it that just it did not, and so we've got to figure out a better way to do it. So our plan is to shake down the car a lot more than what we did before, weather permitting, of course. But it's, the other thing that I got to thinking about is there was a couple people that we heard that actually came out the whole week before Superlap, because there was like some track days or some open days there. So they were out there for a whole week so they could test the car for a day or two and then fix anything that happened over that week. And then they were ready. And it's like, that kind of makes a lot of sense. I
know there's a couple guys that didn't even go to, not COTA specifically, but they did go to a different track the weekend before.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's not many of us that can afford to go to COTA twice in 1 month, right? Like it's expensive regardless of who you go with. But just getting some seat time and seeing what you can and can't break, it's kind of helpful,
Sure.
And GLTC is it's more so like optimization for your driving style and setup, because everybody makes shit for horsepower for the most part, right?
Right.
But it's really matching your driving with the car. Like, I mean, some people are obviously fast and wherever they touch, Tomo or Andy or High Car.
Yeah.
But everybody else is kind of, it's setup dependent and, how focused you are that weekend for the most part.
Right. Well, so which brings me to my next question, Devin. So since this all happened, and I've kind of been following you've actually sold the Corvette.
Yeah.
So
it sold last weekend.
So what was kind of the decision process to kind of go that route? Was it something that like you just decided that like GLTC and that car in GLTC wasn't the direction that you wanted to go, or was it something else?
I mean, I could lie to you and say there was a more methodical engineering-based decision, but it wasn't. I mean, the Corvette is the best hammer for that nail at GLTC currently. Honestly, there were some situations that just made me say, fuck this car, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And Corvettes just weren't my goddamn thing. Like, I thought it would be cool, but it's not. Like, I just didn't like it.
I don't remember you saying how slow it was.
Yeah, I mean, bro, like, even when it was wide open, like wide open, it was like, this thing is a dog. Like, compared to my Honda at like low boost, it was like, this thing fucking sucks. Right? It didn't impress me. It just was it was what it was supposed to be, right? But it wasn't what I expected.
Now, right? And it's fair to say that this is because of the rule set that the car was built for, because it was built to compete in GLTC. Like, you had to basically take a lot of the power out of it.
But I didn't have to take a lot. I wanted to take 50 wheel horsepower out. So wide open, it only made 286.
Okay.
Right. So it wasn't, it was a regular LS1. And I think 03, they made 350 at the crank. Right.
Okay.
So 280, 290 is relatively with drivetrain loss. So it made 220 wheel for GLTC rules. But even at 280, it's still like, meh, whatever, and that's just probably just me coming from drag racing and me coming from Time Attack, where I haven't been in a 200 horsepower car since my S2000 was NA, and that was fucking 6-7 years ago now.
Right.
Even my fucking Turbo Miata street car was at 230 or so. But the real thing is, the real thing was like the Corvette. It might have set up like shit at Coda, but like I can see where the balance could be. It's wide, which is pretty helpful. It's helpful stability. But it just wasn't my thing. Like I realized that I am a driver / builder, and I really just like cool shit, right? And the Corvette just wasn't cool to me, right? I don't like GM's, most of their engineering, most of their shit. I just like, why did you do this? This is stupid, right? And I found myself working on it, just be like, I don't even want to learn this thing. That's why I went to the shop in the first place. Like, I don't even want to work with this piece of shit. Like, I'd rather go fucking do something else. I'd rather go play Madden or something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it stuck with me. It was like, I'm gonna get this thing back, and I'm gonna have to start from ground up, right? Do I really want to do that? Do I want to do that, or do I want to take this cash, funnel it into my S2000, which I still like, or do I want to buy something else that I always wanted?
Right.
And it came down to, I'm gonna list it for sale and see what happens.
Sure.
If somebody wants to give me an okay price for it, then fine, get rid of it. I'll do something else with it. And that's basically what happened. So I mean, since it stayed after Coda, it stayed in Texas.
Okay.
That shop was supposed to do some extra stuff to it, but again, for whatever reason, it didn't come to. I went down and picked it up, and I dropped it off to the new owner, who was 8 hours away from that shop.
Gotcha.
And, it came home. I mean, that's an interesting story that I'm gonna write about, but I drove through a tornado storm. It was hectic. I don't know. I think the car maybe it has this bad omen with it. Yeah.
Man, yeah. If you drove through a tornado to get rid of it, I mean, it's like it's out to get you.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, so that's basically what it came down to. But honestly, if I was going for just the most competitive chassis right now, as a rule of state, anything that you can detune and have and make that whatever your allowed horsepower is, make it from damn near idle all the way to red line, will be your best bet.
Right.
And Corvette just checks a lot of those boxes right now.
Sure. But to your point, I mean, what they're trying to do is have a pretty darn low, wheel horsepower, power to weight ratio to try and make it so that a lot of cars can be competitive in a certain class. But what that means is that it's like that kind of a spec race or spec racing. It's a different experience. It's a different driving experience than kind of like what you're thinking about with Time Attack, where you're trying to get to the pointy end of the class. You're trying to like find solutions, develop the car, increase power, increase performance, and like you would have to approach GLTC in a different way compared to the way that you would approach Time Attack. And I get both approaches, but they're almost, it's like two sides of the same coin almost. You're going two completely different directions with the car.
Yeah, like anybody tell you, building a Time Attack car is completely different than building a wheel-to-wheel car, right? Like a Time Attack car, I mean, in realist, honestly, it only has to survive maybe 3 laps or so. Like if you're more experienced and have a little more funds, and you typically can make it survive a whole weekend and run 1 or 2 laps, not to be too hard on your running gear and things like that. Me personally, I don't believe in that philosophy. I pay for every session. I'm going to every session. I'm doing the whole fucking thing. Right. Wheel car, obviously, you have to be able to survive, small rubs, dings here. Shit can't just be falling off or flying off. Has to be reliable behind somebody else, which people do not understand. The cooling system does not like to be behind another car. Right. So you have to make sure that is robust. It still has to look like a car too. So all your power stuff, So yeah, I agree. Like it does take a different philosophy of just building structure wise and competitive wise. Then being, like I said, with GLTC being a power to weight class, they try to limit that as a variable for the most part.
Right. Are you glad that you tried it? Like,
Yeah.
Is it something where now you can kind of like, if you were curious about it, you've done it enough to know that like you want to put your energies elsewhere, and so like it's not going to be a distraction anymore? Or
Well, I wouldn't say that. I did enjoy it as much as I could. Right. I'm an ultra competitive person. Right. So me not being competitive, I didn't have fun. Right. It wasn't
right,
when people
right,
say, "Oh, just go out there and check and have fun." Like if I'm not competing, it's not fun. Right. So
right.
I'm just there then. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. I will be doing it again. Hope probably next year, uh, with whatever the next car I'm getting.
Yeah.
And
As a
yeah,
doing the GLTC or just some other kind of wheel to wheel racing, or
GLTC. I mean, there's no other no other organization that sparks that flame in me type of thing, right? Because I'm always somebody that I like large classes, right? So that's why I never went to SCCA or something, because
okay,
you know having a small group of people racing in a large field with 5, 6 other classes just never interests me much. I don't watch multi-class racing because I feel I don't know what the fuck's going on.
right,
Kind of boring to me.
You mentioned how many cars get taken out by out of class cars and dumb shit.
Yeah, and it's just
right,
like, this is stupid. Like,
right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's not your thing.
It's stupid for me.
It's not your thing. Yep.
So GLTC doesn't. Plus, the media behind all Grid Life stuff just makes it that more attractive. That more I can pitch it to people, or that more I can
Yeah.
show off the people that work, like stupid shit like that, right? So
Well,
yeah, GLTC is the only thing that
and
really.
that's worth mentioning too. Is I mean, Superlap, GLTC, and Global. I mean, those entities for like if you're a grassroots person and you're trying to go out there and compete, but you're also trying to run somewhere where there is good coverage and there are eyes and there are spectators. Those organizations are doing a really good job of that. Whereas like NASA and SCCA, it's a lot more about the racing, but there's not a lot of there's not an emphasis put on any kind of coverage.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pitch to sponsors when they don't even know what the heck you're talking about, right?
Right.
Like, at least with Grid Live GTA, I can show them, I can show them how many followers they have, or I can
Right.
show them like engagement, like real life engagement. Like, Grid Life's one of the few grassroots place, and GTA as well, that has they have partnership packages that they can send to drivers, right? Like a lot of all pro series have that. Trans Am, Indy, NASCAR, all the NASCAR series, they all have a media packet that you can send out with your own proposal and stuff. And GTA and Grid Life do as well, which is just a great tool to have when you want to pitch to sponsors, when you want to build a legitimate program. You know what I mean?
Right. And you need help to build the program that you want to build.
Yeah. I mean, like, to be honest with you, I have a lot of help. Like, I'm more considered like the marketing guy on Pro Aldo, right? But I have, one of my sponsors he helps out FD teams as well with, gathering money. I have that. Then I have somebody I used to work as a corporate marketing person. She also helps me, research different companies and, branch out that way, right? So it takes a team, obviously, to be successful these days. And it's kind of that's Grid Life is the only place to do it.
Yep, for sure. Very cool. Well, I'm curious if you're going to do something else, and it's not going to be a Corvette. What it's going to be, but you don't have to tell us. You don't want to.
It's hard because I don't want to commit, right? Like, okay. If anybody here, they follow me on Instagram, which is Pro Awesome Devin. It's pretty obvious what I'm gonna do at this point. Okay. But I don't want to say it out loud until I have it physically in my hands.
Sure. That's fair.
What I find kind of related on you selling the Corvette is Luke McGrew selling his Miatas. Like, to me, that's even,
Yeah, he sold it. It's like, he posted like 2 days after I posted my Corvette.
Yeah.
And me and Luke has been talking ever since he bought his, because he's already got a C5 now. He's got a C5C. And we've been talking almost every day now about it. And Luke's a great guy. I mean, he actually hit me up about my Corvette. And he ultimately decided not to go that route just because, you know, Luke's a very particular guy, and he likes the hands-on, like bottom up builds, like he's all about, which I can't be mad at because I'm kind of like that way now too. So he just wanted something that was untouched, and that's why he bought the C5 he has now. But yeah, we talk pretty often now.
Yeah, I've seen him work on that NC constantly. I think he went through several transmissions and all kinds. So much heartache.
Hey, it blew up like 6 engines.
Yeah,
how you blow up 6 stock engines? It hurts.
It's got to be tough to go from like how good his Viper was and be like, well, you know, I mean, if I want to do more, I got to cage it. And I don't want to do that with this car. Let me get into racing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's just been a rough go for him the whole time. Like the Viper was the easy button, and somehow those NC Miatas were not the answer.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think once upon, because I used to always chase Luke and his Viper at the S2000. And I think once upon a time he was like, man, I just kind of want something like easier, right? Like something not big on consumables. If I wreck it, it's not gonna hurt. You know. And then he thought, Miata's the answer. Everybody always says Miata's the answer. And that Miata just kind of hurt him, you know, which I felt so bad for him because they were stock engines. You know, there wasn't something, you know, it wasn't a crazy build. I mean, it was meticulously done, all the right parts, and it just still didn't work. And it's like, that's a bummer. That's when you're just like, do I really like racing that much?
Right.
Like, I would have gave that engine 3. I would have been like, you know what, fuck this.
Yeah, especially stock Miata power. I mean, that would be it'd be quite the kick to the nads for sure.
Yeah, right? Yeah. You're like, come on. What?
Yeah, get it with like 500, 600, 700 horsepower cars that just scare the shit out of you, but like
yeah.
Stock Miata. Yeah, that is a tough hill. Well, let's talk about happier things. Hopefully,
sure.
Hopefully, happier things.
Let me see how we can go down this route.
I want to hear about, like, so it seems like you're now putting a lot of energy now into getting the dual clutch transmission into the S2000.
You thought this was happy?
well, what I'm curious about is what was the inspiration to start down this path, and what is the hope for the outcome?
So the inspiration is I'm poor. Right, so I can't afford a fucking sequential, unfortunately. So this is me and Mike went over this for a whole off season. So this is before Andy and them went this route. So this is like 3 or 4 years in the making. I already knew I was going to blow up transmissions. I was getting notchy going to 6 already. So I was like, well, what is the OME situation that what can we do? Because I'm a big component on using OEM shit, just because more engineers have figured that out than old Devin in his garage, right?
Right.
So we came up with the DCT. So this is when DCTs were cheap. Like I think we bought 2 of them for $800.
Wow.
And it was just kind of starting to come off. Like we had to research like in trans controllers and all this other stuff. And it kind of got shelved just because of being the first to do anything is the most expensive and the most headache and heartache, right?
Yeah.
So me kind of being by myself, I'm the only one in Chicago. They're all down there, and he doesn't have time. I was just like, I'm gonna shelve it for a while. Then we kind of come back around here now, where any of them have it pretty much well figured out, and it's that time where I have free times where I can kind of tinker around with it. So it's like, well, why not? I'm still actually like 75% sure I'm gonna do it, but the other 25 is like, man, it'd be a lot easier just to put an M3 trans in it and call it a day.
Okay.
But the main source is I'm poor and I want a sequential.
Sure. Well, and like what you posted lately, it's like some of the pieces and the fittings you're putting on there are machined. So like if these guys have gone through it, like, are there now a lot of the hardware, or is there a kit available now to do this kind of conversion? Like, it's not something that you have to like figure out all on your own.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think my girlfriend just came up.
Yep.
I think for the hard parts, there are kits. There's still only one or two people making them, but like Diamond Works is the main one out of England, I want to say.
Okay.
So there are kits that solve some basic problems, like DCTs are in park when you take them out, right? So
Okay.
you have to have something to release the parking mechanism, or the stock oil coolers for the DCT fluid isn't enough, right? So you have adapters that let you fit in your own end lines and put an actual real cooler on it. For instance, like what Andy and them found out was you can't use a direct hub. So what they were doing before was you had a flywheel, you had a hub on that flywheel, and that hub is splined for your DCT input shaft.
Okay.
Right. Well, things like the K-Series or K24 specifically, you take out your balance shaft and you put a K20 oil pump on it, right? K20 oil pumps don't, the word is skipping, but you need that oil pressure from the K20 pump when you want to rev it over 8,500.
Okay.
Cavitate, that's what I'm trying to think of.
Okay.
The stock one cavitates. So when you take out the balance shaft, and now you got a harmonic nightmare, right? So what's happening was it would vibrate so bad that it would tear up the baskets that the clutch sits in inside the trans, right?
Wow.
So nowadays you can get a dual mass flywheel, and that dampens that abrasiveness, you know. So things like that, take time. I didn't want to go through transits.
There's I don't remember the exact episode, but as we're recording this, it was just I think it was the most recent episode of your podcast, the Professional Awesome podcast, where they were talking about some of all these issues, and I guess these guys went through 7 transmissions where they're just blowing the baskets out of them to get to the point where they're starting to figure out these other solutions. So it sounds like there's a lot of development that you can now ride on the back of to make it a more streamlined process.
Yeah, and that's what I always said. I think I forget. Well, I was on another podcast. I said the same thing. I want Andy and them to hurry up so I can start doing it.
Right. Right.
Because they've been working on LSs and things like that, just because an LS is a more harmonically sound engine.
Right.
And plus, you have to use the M3 trans for the LS. And I'm not. I'm using a 3 Series trans, which difference is the bell housing is smaller, holds less torque. I got a K-Series, doesn't make much torque, so I'm cool.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but they put that big old snail on it, though.
Stop it. I still made 400 torque. I think at the lowest boost settings with all timing taken out, I made 400. So they're still pretty good. It's a big block Honda, so what do you expect, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to, as a still thing, there's still a lot of extra things that go on with the DTT. Like trans tuning in general is a complicated ordeal.
Right.
I mean, if you think about an OEM, they spend hours and hours trans tuning, to get a.
There's a
job.
computer controlling the transmission, like a computer whose whole job is to control the transmission, because there's a lot going on there. Yeah,
there's a standalone. So I have 2 standalones in the car, one for the trans, one for the engine, right? So just take that into conception that it's not that easy.
That's not a small thing.
And they have to do. It has to synchronize with each other, or it'll blow itself up, right? Too much line pressure at the wrong period of time. Now you've blown up a basket, you're blowing up an input shaft, something is blown up, something's not happy, bent a fork or something. Right. So that's a whole nother ordeal, right? So I'm excited to start, right? But it's also I have to find that balance of how much do I want to drive, how much do I want to tinker, right? Because if that tinker gets too much, then it's fuck this. If the driving gets too much, then it's I'm going too slow. I need to change something.
Right.
So I don't know where I stand with DTT yet.
Is the hope, and in part the motivation to go with the dual clutch, that with the turbocharger on the car, that you'll be able to basically flat foot shift and use it as it can be used in the car that it came with, where you have complete ability to just use the paddle shift for the transmission, and then you have the benefits of the turbo's always in boost, and you're holding the engine in a better state, power and torque wise, or.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, the best things are, like you said, just stand in boost and not having an extra pedal, right?
Right.
I think people don't think about that too much. Just having just a brake pedal to deal with under braking is a big difference.
Sure.
And just fucking shifting at what is that? I forgot the exact number, but let's say 4/10. Shifted at 4/10
Yeah.
when I think the fastest shift a human can do was like 5 or 6. I mean, that's a tenth. That's insane.
Right. Right.
It's just
and it's automatic. You just flip the pedals and it happens versus having to do something that's very precise and very practiced. And then lots of things can go wrong if you're going to try and shift fast like that.
Yeah, I mean, and then like when people think like you can shift mid corner if you really wanted to,
Sure.
instead of having to make that decision of, do I stay in this lower gear and bounce it off the rev limiter on exit, or do I stay in the gear below and just bog through it?
Right.
Just things like that. So I mean, my ultimate goal is to be the fastest S2000 around Gingerman, right?
Sure.
That's always been my goal for 10 years now or so, right?
Yeah.
I'm still far off that goal.
Hopefully moving to get closer.
Exactly. So that's the motivation behind it. But then,
Nice.
like I said, flip side, I can do that with an H pattern, right? So do I want to make it hard on myself? Do I want to give myself that limitation to make things that much more fun and rewarding? I don't know yet.
Right. And the lure of being able to put these dual clutch transmissions in a platform that's been tested, but then hopefully that kind of opens up other platforms so that it becomes an option. And it would give a lot of us more of an opportunity to live that dream, that's for sure.
Yeah, right.
But man, it is not a small task, that is for sure.
Yeah. It's daunting.
The Subarus, we don't get that kind of DCT love. I can't think of any transmissions that would directly bolt up to our setups at all.
Yeah, that would keep in a forward drive. It's you shit out of luck,
right.
Especially having the engine mounted the way it is.
In a way that only Subaru does it.
Yeah,
or maybe we can actually take the engine and transmission out of a 911 turbo, and then put it where nature intended in the front, and then just figure out some way to adjust the ring and pinion gears to make it all work.
I've heard worse ideas, so I mean, we're gonna try it. Let's see what happens.
They do the opposite when you put Subaru engines in bugs. I mean, maybe that's our best shot.
All that I can think of is like a Skyline, like the older GTRs, the R32 34s. Like that's the only, and put a fucking half shaft through your oil pad. But I mean,
there's somebody that I think there's somebody that did an R35 swap into a Subaru chassis, but it was bizarre.
It was Andy Force, and he did it in that that white GC.
Oh
yeah, this is chain driven.
But it was chain driven to the front axle.
Front stub axles were,
Andy's a good guy to know. I think I've talked to him once or twice. He's
very cool.
That guy knows his shit.
Yeah, if you're gonna go as far as he did with the Subaru chassis, you've got to have some pretty good engineering prowess, because he basically remade that thing about 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So I mean, I'm sorry for the Subaru guys. I know Dami is working on things for the front wheel drive Honda guys. So that should be interesting,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have some sequential options, so that's where I think if you can't go with the dual clutch, then you can make the sequential work. Then that becomes something that's a little bit more viable.
Yeah, this is true. Still expensive. It's still going to hurt the pockets. Something's going to hurt.
Yes. Well, and then making it work, then keeping it all together, and then keeping it reliable. Those are all interesting problems.
Those sound like nothing a Subaru driver would ever say.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
making it work, reliable.
Subarus. Yeah, they like a challenge.
That's the goal. The whole goal is to get them to be reliable. So.
Yeah, we've all seen you guys fail so far. It's okay though. I like to see the pursuit.
Just wait. Yeah, it's
like when I talk to Dewey. It's like you'll see.
You'll see.
I know.
That's right. That should be like the Subaru, like underneath every license plate. You'll see. Just wait.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, you see those stickers that say boost loading. Ours just needs to say reliability loading, and it's just like one little tick.
I feel like we're making strides, but it's always something.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Wait till next year. There may be a sequential behind me right now.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's still in boxes, so it's not going to hurt anybody. So don't worry. It's
Okay.
safe. It's still in the cage. But
Go out there,
yeah.
you open up, look at it every once in a while. Yeah, it's still there. All
Still
right,
there.
man.
Still there. Yep. Still,
Show me on this elbow doll where that sequential touched you.
That's right. That's right. They're mean, but we'll find out. That's the next hurdle we'll cross. So, well, Devin, as we're wrapping up here, just want to again thank you for making the time, sit down and chat with us. Kind of at the end here. So, Professional Awesome, you're on the Professional Awesome podcast, Professional Awesome website, but you also write for a website,
Speed Academy.
Speed Academy. So you've got some really awesome articles. In fact, the whole story that you told us at the beginning, you wrote a great article on Speed Academy about that, all the trials and tribulations of the experience. So,
And I write far better than I talk. I suck at telling like stories over word because I'm like, what do people want to hear? I don't know.
you know what?
I'm gonna shorten this up.
I totally like chatting with you, but you're an excellent writer. I will definitely say that. Like I really enjoy
thanks.
reading your stuff.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so
It's the feedback I need to hear. I never get any feedback. I don't know what anybody likes unless they tell me on Instagram or something.
The thing that I like about it is the thing that I like the most is it's like you're sitting there telling me the story. So you have your voice and your humor comes through very well, and that's what makes it enjoyable.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I find writing things as in like super proper or like some of the other like blog type things where it just sounds too official. It's like this is fucking boring.
It's like a textbook.
Nobody gonna read this. Like reading Motor Trend review or something. Like that's not me, right? Like this bullshit. I'm gonna say it's bullshit. Like
and that's what I like about it. It's very fun.
Well, thanks. So. Now I'm gonna write tonight just for you.
Good. You should keep doing that and keep working on the car for sure. So.
Ooh, now you're asking too much.
Well, and I mean, to anybody, you've got to follow Devin's Instagram because Devin, you're probably one of the hardest working guys out there to get your car together and get to the track, and you document it all, and it's
true.
For me, it's like if ever I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know if I want to go out and work on my car. But like, holy crap, look at what Devin's doing. He's like, there's points where you're cutting your car up, you're rolling it back together, you're moving stuff around. Like you're doing everything under the sun. You're always doing something. It's like, all right, well, if Devin's out there in the garage making it work, I should give it a shot.
All right, I'll start posting more.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the feedback, I just don't know what people want to see, right? Like I don't know if people like seeing my car getting hacked together because I mean, I really like cutting it up and loading on it, so
yeah.
I show that.
The coolest thing about it is to see all the little pieces, but then like a week or two later, you see it all coming together. Like I remember when you're cutting up and welding on like the radiator and all that sort of stuff. It's like all of a sudden you see the progress. It's moving into something. It's inspirational. It's like, all right, if you can reinvent your whole cooling system or whatever, like I think I can go out and change the oil and like check a couple of things and do some stuff that's way simpler than what you're up against.
Well, I appreciate it. All right, this isn't all about me. You guys are doing fine. We'll try.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess follow me if you want to see about how you shouldn't be working hard at your job and how race cars are cool. Then I'm okay to follow.
Absolutely, very cool. Well, Devin, thanks again for making the time. Really appreciate it. And I don't know, Dustix, right as we're getting towards the end, any questions you have or anything else you want to touch base on?
You gonna try and make it up to tracks like the Ridge and stuff this year? You think?
Your thing broke up. I have no idea what you said.
He asked if you're going to try and make it out to the Ridge or any other events this year.
I think I want to do Autobahn. I want to. So I should have the next car next week. So I would like to be at Autobahn's my favorite track. Right? I know it's blasphemy, but I would like to be at Autobahn and seeing everybody and whatnot. And I might come out to festival to just hang out. And that's probably it for me, to be honest with you. I got a lot of testing I want to do, so I'll be at like GPS track time and stuff. But
like we talked about at the beginning, testing is important, and we now have a renewed appreciation for how important that testing is.
Yeah, we have a very expensive lesson. We all learned. We learned on the same day.
That's right. We compared notes, same lesson. Testing is important. Okay.
Hey, I had a great weekend at Super Lap.
Okay, well, it's a good weekend. Fuck off.
Because well, no, actually, you didn't.
Yeah,
test. You put in a brand new engine. You're just like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I drove like 2 laps out there. I'm like, yep, it didn't blow up. Load it in the trailer.
Yeah, we're done.
And the other part of that lesson is sometimes luck does work in your favor. It's
right.
not all
Oh,
bad
yeah.
luck. Sometimes there's good luck too.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah.
Don't get down on yourself. So, cool beans. Well, thanks again for everybody for listening, for joining us. Check out Devin at Everything Professional Awesome, or Devin Professional
Yep.
Awesome Devin on
Nope,
Instagram.
close. Pro Awesome Devin.
Pro Awesome Devin.
There it is.
There we go. There we go. And until next time, as always, stay tuned with Flatirons Tuning. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the Flatirons Syndicate Motorsports Podcast. Once again, we'd like to let you know that your support is what makes this show possible. Be sure to check out our online store at flatirons.com for any of your aftermarket or OEM Subaru parts needs. And as always, stay tuned with Flatirons Tuning.